They should make it a rare item in a Mario Kart. You get a shell that just like takes someone out of the race permanently.
Luigi gets a gun.
It's only for Luigi.
David.
Yes.
Can I ask you a hypothetical?
Of course.
What do you think is the worst condition for playing video games? Like the circumstances surrounding you that playing video games would be like the least conducive to. Just bad video game times.
I mean, outside in the rain.
Not great for long-term playability for sure.
Yeah, everything would break.
Yeah, that seems pretty bad on the face of it.
That would probably be, outside in the rain or outside in the snow, I think would be the worst.
Yeah.
Are we talking about like actual plausible video game environments though, like only inside, as it is an inside activity really?
I would accept like a volcano if you wanted to like say
a volcano,
a really bad one.
The vacuum of space.
That would suck. Hey dude, I'm actually doing a podcast right now.
God, Cooper, come on.
Space would not be good. Space would not be a good space for video games.
It'd be a bad space. Maybe even a dead space, they would say.
That is a good video game, though, so...
That is a good video game.
That's kind of a wrinkle. Last week, I said it was hot while we were recording.
Uh-huh.
That was a fun little warm-up for this week.
Quite literally a warm-up.
It's literally a warm-up. There has been like an uncharacteristically hot couple of days in Seattle. And I've been trying to play video games in the midst of all this, and it's just so bad. Video games are pretty bad when, like, I don't have the ability to cool them or me off. Mm-hmm. And, like, my PlayStation's just pumping hot air.
That fan can only fan so much.
Yeah, no, it's just shooting out hot air. I've got my gamer heat coming off me.
My gamer heat.
You know the type. You know the vibe. So it's just bad. It's a pretty bad gaming time. Mm-hmm. Despite the fact that I have been playing a lot of video games, it's less good. I think I maybe overcorrected with summoning the summer spirit of Podtimism. I think that's
came in too hard.
Yeah, I think they were a little bit excited about going hard in the paint.
This is what you get for saying that we dated.
No, that was the spring. Maybe it's the revenge of spring. Maybe spring is manipulating me now.
Oh, there you go.
This is getting pretty woo-woo.
This is the cast, baby.
Yeah,
it's the woo-woo cast.
Wait, no, correction. It's Video Game Podtimism. It is the Optimists video game variety show, where two best friends talk about the wonderful world of gaming. My name is
Wonderful.
Chase, and when it's hot, it feels like I'm speaking with a mouthful of marbles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm David. I had my warm up after I had my glow up, if you know what I mean.
Ooh, I don't know what you mean. Are you saying you're hot? Huh? Is that what's going on?
I mean, I'm just out. It's just that when you said Seattle had a warm up,
yeah,
I just thought of like Seattle, the city, posting on Instagram about its warm up and how much better it's off now than it was like a week ago.
Now that it broke up with Spokane.
This is my warm-up, baby. Broke up with Spokane.
I'm doing really good.
With Spokane. Too cold. I'm a hot boy now. I'm dating Los Angeles.
Man, making jokes is kind of tough when it's like this. I feel like I'm just moving a fucking mile a minute. See, I can't even get my metrics right.
It's okay. It was kind of hot here in Santa Barbara today. Got to 85 maybe.
Yeah.
And then a big old fog bank came in, and now it's cold again.
It was 108 yesterday here.
108. Oh my God.
For a city without AC is a pretty challenging perspective.
That's tough. It's a tough one.
It's a mere 90 today, so I'm able to podcast, but yesterday I think I would have recorded my heat death had we tried to do it. So
the
it is this
death of Chase Albee comes before the heat death of the universe.
So anyway, that's why we've got this Tuesday energy.
Tuesday pod, baby.
We're gonna work out all of our inner demons because it's a Tuesday pod. Oh, thank God my dog has chilled out on the couch. He's now just staring at me from across the way. If you hear any borks, it's my 15-year-old bug demanding that he be led into the hot room where he will simply just pant for the next 3 hours.
I was about to say, why is he in there with you? But he keeps demanding to come in.
Yeah, I've got him outside of the room. Like, please, dude, cool yourself off. You're a old hot dog. And he's like, no, Dad, I want to be in the hot room.
It's
where
just
it's too much.
It's just like people when they move to Florida.
They just want to be in the hot room.
Super hot all the time. Just lost the ability to determine when you were actually hot.
I wish that was the power I had right now.
Huh?
Have you been playing video games, David?
I have.
Might you tell me about some of those, please?
I'm still playing Hades.
Yes.
I've unlocked all of the weapon aspects.
Yes, and you're still playing.
And I'm still playing because I gotta know what happens between Hades and Olympus. So I think I'm just gonna be playing this off and on for a while. I think it's not like my obsession anymore, but it is still quite fun.
Yeah, no, you kick it on for a couple rounds and then you're like, well, that was good. Yeah.
I think there's a whole entire other side of the Mirror of Night that I haven't even accessed yet. Pretty certain, actually, based off of the Book of Fate.
Yes.
So I gotta get that. I gotta tee a P. Let's see what's good. So yeah, still lots of little things keeping me going in that one.
Sure.
Also, still just a great game.
It is, yeah. No, it's a very good video game. I had the same experience where I played much longer than I had anticipated playing.
Yeah, no, great game. I beat Ratchet and Clank.
Nice.
Beat it, and then promptly started up a new game.
Yeah.
To upgrade all my weapons. So that's where I'm at now.
They make it so worth it. Like, just immediately like, oh, this is still fun.
And here's a couple more weapons you can get, too.
Yeah.
I love me a good pixelizer.
Oh, did you have the bouncer when you played through it the first time?
No, I got that one the second playthrough.
Oh, because I had the pixelizer the first run.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I got the pixelizer and the bouncer as, like, the extra weapons at the end.
I got the pixel. I think the pixelizer was my, like, second gun.
What?
Yeah.
That's wild. I had to pay with a gold bolt to get that.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Why? I don't understand.
I don't know. Same with the bouncer. Those two. I had to pony up.
Whoa. Okay.
Big cash money.
Yeah.
Straight gold.
Weird. Okay.
Which ones were you able to get at the end of it?
Just the bouncer was the only one I could get.
Really?
Yeah.
Did I fuck up?
I wonder if it's the difficulty, because you were playing on a higher difficulty than I was.
I was.
Wonder if the pixelizer's OP.
Pixelizer's pretty good, baby.
It's pretty good, yeah.
Pretty good gun. But yeah, I played that.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, the Rhino is amazing.
Yeah, the Rhino's a good gun.
The Rhino is so good in this one. I lost my shit when a Thunderjaw came through.
Oh, yeah. You're the Dimensionator. Yeah.
Yeah. The Rhino is the Dimensionator.
Right, yeah. I forgot. I thought there's like a rocket launcher that I always confuse the two with.
That's the Peacemaker?
Yes, David, thank you. Sorry, man, my brain is doing funny things.
You're just fried over there. That's okay. I got you.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of cool shit that comes through the Dimensionator portals.
Yeah, I got the Thunderjaw. I've got to keep on using it to find out what else comes through. What other little tidbits of PlayStation lore come through. I also like that now all of the other PlayStation worlds are canon.
Kind of connected,
as a multiverse. So is this opening up PlayStation All-Stars 2?
I dearly hope so.
I'd be into it.
I enjoyed my playthrough of it for 3 hours or whatever that we played it at when I visited you at Rice.
Yeah. It was fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I had a good time with it too. It was like a very weird celebration of Nintendo. Or sorry.
PlayStation?
Of PlayStation.
Sony face, please.
David, I can't.
I mean, Smash Bros. Is just everything now, so...
Yeah.
They got Dragonborn in it at this point. It's like...
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
So
Video
wild.
games.
So
Video
wild.
games, am I right?
Vimeo games, am I right, guys?
Cool. So you beat Ratchet and Clank. I would love to talk a little bit more extensively about that one at some point on the pod, but to be continued, maybe.
Because your brain's not working?
A little bit, but I would like to do a whole episode's worth of shit, because I feel like there is enough stuff there to talk about.
There's a lot in there. It's true. Yeah. Okay, cool. What else have I played? I dipped back into Cuphead.
A throwback.
Yeah.
I feel like you were talking about Cuphead early in the pod.
Yeah, I never beat it. I just kind of fell off the bandwagon because at a certain point I enjoyed it, but you have to be in a specific mood to want to play that game.
Yeah.
Still fun, still very challenging.
Yep.
But a good one to play while I'm on my bike.
Oh yeah, sure enough.
I just pedal harder, let out the anger.
Yeah.
Still good. I enjoyed that game.
Yeah.
And then I dipped my toes into Battlefield 5.
What the fuck?
It's PS Plus game.
Okay. Battlefield 5 what was this? This came out a year or two ago, I think.
I think so, yeah. It was the one that all the chud boys on the internet hated because it had a woman in World War II.
Right, yeah. What do you think of this game so far?
I'm very confused by it.
Okay.
I turned it on, and then it just immediately put me into this long, like, half cutscene, half game sequence.
Oh, I think I know the one you're talking about, where it's like switching perspectives a bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It went on for like 15, 20 minutes maybe?
Yeah.
Went on for a while, it felt like.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, cool. And
when is the game starting?
Yeah, when does the game start? And then there was like a long cutscene at the end of just like the horrors of war, which is horrible. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
And then it just went to the start screen, and I was just so confused. I was like, what do I do now? And then it said like, oh, we can't connect to the EA server, so you can't play online. I'm like, that is so classic Battlefield and EA.
Yeah.
So I could like access the war stories. It doesn't have like a story mode. It has like different vignettes of stories, which are all the different things that you played through in that weird beginning sequence.
Right, yeah.
So I was like, okay, I think I got the gist of everything, and I just kind of closed it out. I don't know. I don't know if I'll be back into it. It wasn't what I was expecting.
Yeah.
But it did have some cool moments.
Sure.
Even in that little bit in the beginning.
Yeah.
I like the part where I was parachuting into like Norway or something, and like it was super quiet while I was parachuting in, and then you hit the ground and you just like hear the noise of war coming at you. You're like, oh, that was good. That was well done.
Yeah, pretty effective.
Very effective. But then you get into it and it's still just kind of basic first-person shooter. They didn't really reinvent anything or do anything unique or special, but it seemed like it was a good version of that type of game.
Sure.
It was effective at what it did.
It does, like, I think I played the same couple of vignettes as you did and then tried the online stuff. Definitely got my ass kicked online, which is like, okay, it's a first-person shooter on PC, and I was getting just, like, rolled by everybody else who was playing it, so to be expected. It's very weird. I find myself, like, feeling very weird about war games as first-person shooters as time goes on. Like, the back and forth of trying to take it very seriously, but at the same time also profiting off of showing people images of horrific shit is sort of a weird, like, I don't know. It makes me feel a little rough to, like, be in that circumstance.
Yeah.
And, like, I think, like, World War II specifically, because it's, like, the people who are connected to that are, a couple generations away at this point. And it's also, like, I know it's not this, but, like, it's easier to point to it, I think, in mass culture and say, like, there is a good and bad side to this. Obviously, Nazis were shitty. And, like, that's an easy thing to paint yourself of, like, we're the good guys. And, like, that's... I don't know. I think if you don't look at it too hard, it doesn't feel as bad as like the last Call of Duty where you're fighting the Vietnamese and like, feels bad, man.
Shitty.
Yeah. So I don't know. It like every time I play one of these, I'm just like, is this like, oh God, it feels just kind of bad and kind of icky. And so I'm usually more excited when a first person shooter is just like something that doesn't exist, like this isn't representative of a conflict that is currently going on or went on in the past.
Aliens, robots, monsters.
Yeah. Or even, future warfare and shit like that is like fine, right? It doesn't feel nearly as bad. It still doesn't feel
Mars.
Great. Yeah. I think even the next Battlefield is like, it's supposed to be like kind of set in the real world, but it's also very much leaning into like, this is a ridiculous multiplayer video game. And like, that's kind of the aesthetic we're going for. I find that way more easier to digest when the game is like, yeah, we're a video game. That's okay. Rather than like, this is fucking war, dude. This shit's fucked.
I don't want to feel like I'm at war. That's not fun for me.
No. And I think even more so, I don't want somebody to profit off of that. Like, it's just such a rough experience for like a lot of humans to have gone through, and like suddenly, fucking Electronic Arts is making money off of that experience. I don't know. It feels weird. I know that this is probably not a hot take or not a uncommon opinion at all. But just in my personal experience, it has felt weirder and weirder as time has gone on.
Sure.
Not to shit on Battlefield. Or your experience with it.
You should feel bad, Battlefield. Simulating a war, you monsters.
So yeah, point. that was just my Battlefield thought.
That was a good thought. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you for hearing.
You're welcome.
Oh my God, it's hot. Holy shit.
Huh?
Were you playing anything else? Sorry, I kind of derailed you from the other thing.
I play a little bit of Disco Elysium again.
Yeah, sure.
Still plowing through that one.
Yeah.
It's such an open game.
Yeah, sure.
Still kind of confused as to what I'm doing exactly, but I'm just kind of doing things, just figuring it out, just trying not to care.
Yeah, I think that's the point.
Yeah, that's about it. What about you? What have you been playing?
Some video games. I have not played a deck building roguelike this episode. Just to kind of, I know.
That's like the first time in a couple months, isn't it?
No, I've been playing them so much recently. But yeah, no,
okay?
it's been hot. So just, a little wrench in the gears.
It's not a hot weather game.
No, it's a thinking game for sure.
You can't use your brain when it's hot?
No, clearly, as evidenced by the last 20 minutes of podcast.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Okay, so let's see. Mass Effect. I've beat Mass Effect now.
Nice. All of them?
Yeah, all of them. Let's see. So Mass Effect 3, I think of the three is the weakest of them. What I go to for Mass Effect, it wasn't there in spades. Like the character stuff was kind of sparse. It was there. Like it wasn't absent, but it was sparser than it was even in the first and second one. Mm-hmm. There was just a lot of shooting in the third one.
Yeah, the third one's much more action-y.
Yeah, and like, when thinking about just like the tonal shift from the first one to the third, it's like it's kind of night and day. The first one feels so much more just like kind of space exploration and like you're discovering this like wide open world. Mm-hmm. And there's just like so much to do and so much like space and time to wander through. Again, I think I said this last week, so it kind of bears repeating, but it's just hard to play through that much of a game where it's like the world is ending at every moment.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, it's not bad. It was just like, what I love about those games wasn't as present in this last one. The ending of Mass Effect 3 was fine. I think it was
your inbox is going to explode now, Chase.
It's fine. It like I said before, the way that Mass Effect ended was never the biggest part of Mass Effect for me.
Sure.
The characters and how Shepard like sort of explores their like personalities is way more important to me. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why the third one feels so rough. Is like you're kind of saying goodbye to all these people slowly but surely, and like a bunch of them die probably. And so like it's that part of it's just really challenging to play through. But yeah, like the narrative wrap up I feel like is, I don't know, it's just a hard thing to do in any story, and especially one that spans over 3 whole video games. Mm-hmm. That you have to like wrap up this like satisfying answer.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the complaints of at the time were like, it feels uncharacteristic of Mass Effect. Like it didn't feel like a Mass Effect decision because, the ending essentially boils down to choose one of 3 options. Mm-hmm. And I agree that like none of them feel particularly like satisfying.
Yeah.
All of them are like, they all kind of come with drawbacks, and like I definitely was reading a Wikipedia article before I chose of like what happens if you do each one of these. Mm-hmm. And so like it does feel a little bit shallow in that way, but I think like 2 things. One, that really doesn't detract from this series for me that much.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely not the thing that I'm left thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. And I also just think like what fucking IP has ended well? There's not a lot of things I can think of that are like totally killer ending for this huge piece of media.
The endings are exceptionally hard.
Super difficult. Like all I can think of is Avatar. That's the only thing I can think of that's like, that was a good ending for a 3-season show,
I thought Breaking Bad did it all right.
That's true. Breaking Bad was pretty good. But
Breaking Bad had a good ending.
But even still, right? Like you can count on one hand the amount of things that have ended good.
Yeah, definitely not Game of Thrones, that's for sure.
Nope. You can point to any fandom, and if they have a large amount of like media, there's a pretty significant amount of them that like hate the way something ended. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just like not convinced that there's like always a good way to do that shit, especially in a game where like choice was marketed as such a big part of it.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I understand sort of the narrative criticism of it, of like, this doesn't feel quite as impactful as I was hoping it would. Sure. Mm-hmm. Okay. I hear that. But, I think like we've said before, the internet's response was mostly just to say like, fuck EA, fuck BioWare, fuck this whole game. I don't care about it. Like, yeah, that's a pretty shitty response to what is otherwise, it's a big part of it, but not that big of a fucking deal.
Do you think the issue is that it was like a not satisfying ending, or do you think it was that there just weren't enough permutations of endings? Because that was part of what the game was really sold on, was all your decisions will matter in the end.
Yeah.
As opposed to in the end, it was like really nothing mattered except for this last thing that you did, this last choice that you made.
Yeah.
So I feel like, I don't know, I kind of understand where some people are coming from. I don't agree with the amount of anger and hatred, of course, but as far as, the whole entire marketing behind the game of everything matters, it's all going to come out in the end, why it matters, didn't seem like that was a fair statement in the end. Whether that was an EA thing or a BioWare thing, I don't know. But I see what you're saying, but I also see what some of the more hopefully rational folks who have disagreements with the ending also are saying.
Yeah. And like I don't think there's any issue with saying like, hey, this wasn't a satisfying ending for me, Like I think whenever that's said, that's a pretty fair statement. It's just when it goes into this like, this
I'm
mob
gonna find you and dox you in Europe.
Or like I don't know. I think it's more like that sucks and clearly is just like the worst fucking behavior.
Yeah.
But I think like when you say like this ending wasn't right or anything like that, like it sort of short sells the impact of what like the art of Mass Effect is doing, right? Like I think it would be much more impactful to actually like poke and sort of pick apart what didn't work here and why wasn't it effective.
Yeah.
In a way that isn't just like tearing down the video game. I think so often like video game analysis gets turned into video game criticism. Like those two things are not necessarily separate a lot of the time. And I don't think there's anything wrong with analyzing why the end of this game didn't feel super good, right?
Yeah.
But I think that should be mostly the extent of it. Like, I just don't think you have to start attacking the creators or saying that like, this ending was wrong or something like that. I think, unsatisfying is it is centered around the person experiencing it rather than like an objective statement of fact about a video game.
Sure.
Because no such thing exists, right? There's no such thing as like a good or bad ending.
One correct ending out there in the ether that you then have to just pluck out of thin air and attach to the end of your medium.
Like they just didn't find the right one. Like that seems like a pretty silly thing to think, but I don't know. I would hope that like the conversation around that stuff has evolved a little bit since then. And I think it has. Like you don't see nearly as much like vitriol online. And that's probably just because like the people who are playing the Legendary Edition are people who like Mass Effect and may already know what that entails.
Isn't there though like a canonical correct ending as well though?
Spoilers. Mass Effect 3. Spoilers. Yeah, I think so. The one where Shepard lives is the one where I'm pretty sure the canonical ending, if what you're saying is true, that like the ending where she lives, then that would be the one where she chooses to destroy the Reapers and also all synthetic life in the galaxy, which is like Edie, the Geth, and also the Reapers, which is pretty brutal. That was the one I chose for context. It felt like the most in character for Shepard. Like she's been crusading the whole game to be like, fuck the Reapers, I'm going to stop the Reapers. The other two options work. You could control the Reapers, which is what the Elusive Man was trying to do the whole time. Yeah. And I think the idea there is like Shepard gets vaporized and turned into like the controller of the Reapers. That one seemed a little bit suspicious because like I'm not convinced that once she like gets fused with the like Reaper AI that she wouldn't just turn around and do the same thing. And then the third option was synthesis, where you like somehow synthesize all synthetic and organic life in the galaxy into one new like DNA strand.
I think that's what I did.
Yeah, I think that one, like, they present it as the most, like, reasonable choice, but, like, so much of this game is, like, time and time again, they are saying how fucked up it is for you to try and control how life evolves. Like, so much of this game happens. Like, it's the whole thing with the Reapers. They're just trying to control, like, how life is existing and how it controls the genophage stuff, the Rachni, like, over and over and over again, they're just saying, like, whenever you try to wrestle control over how life exists, it blows up in ways that are, like, deeply harmful to the galaxy, right? Like, you're sacrificing a lot doing that. And so, like, any of the ones where it's, like, you're attempting to control something that is beyond you felt in a way that I wasn't learning the right lessons for Mass Effect. To some extent, I would believe that if you reasoned with EDI and said like, hey, I'm going to destroy the Reapers, but it's going to cause all like synthetic life to die. What are you cool? She'd be like, yeah, like this is what you've been working for. Like it's the safest option, right?
You're putting words in Edie's mouth now, Chase. Maybe she would plead for her life. She'd be like, please, don't kill me, Shepard Commander.
Very, very true. It's possible. The Geth one is a little bit more questionable because there's a lot of Geth.
Are there other synthetic life forms?
I don't know of any. I don't know that there's anything that significant or like conscious, because there's all those like laws in the Mass Effect world about making AI or like, you know, any sort of artificial intelligence is like something they really try to like not do. I think because they've sort of learned the risks of doing it, right? Like the Geth were a result of people not taking artificial intelligence seriously enough. So yeah, like the one where she just destroys the synthetic stuff felt like kind of bad, right? Because there's, you know, a lot of Geth are being sort of snuffed out. But I felt like if I did either of the other two, I wasn't learning the lesson that Mass Effect was trying to teach me.
What was it trying to teach you? You should kill everything that's not organic?
I think the lesson of Mass Effect that they are trying to teach you is that attempting to wrestle control over life is not a good thing to do, despite presenting only choices where that's pretty much what you're doing.
It's all controls in a different way.
Yeah, even the destruction one is like a very violent act. So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think that there's merits to trying to talk about what they're trying to say there. And like even merits to the idea that like, you know, when at the end of the game, a lot of your choices don't matter in the way that like, you know, you get a narrative resolution to them. I think that is absolutely like a representation of how life is very much structured in the same way that like when somebody dies or when you die, there is not necessarily an end to that in a way that's tied up nicely in a bow, right? Like people can exit at times that is inconvenient and does not necessarily serve like this satisfying arc.
Now you sound like George R. Martin right now.
Maybe I should go into writing and finish his books.
Oh, God, please.
Somebody do it. Anyway, so like, you know, I think that's probably a stretch to interpret it that way. But, you know, I think at least trying to approach it from that point of view is a better idea for the medium than saying EA corrupted BioWare, you know, shit's fucked. Everything is terrible.
Huh, that's true.
So yeah, anyway, so I've also been playing Mario Golf.
I've heard some pretty mixed things about the new Mario Golf.
I'm also feeling mixed things about the new Mario Golf.
Do tell.
Okay, so the golf in this game, good. Feels good. I like to golf in Mario Golf.
That is the most important thing, I would think, right?
Yeah. I played the last, Mario Tennis or whatever, and like, it was hard to play tennis in that video game. They kind of didn't offer a lot of tennis to be played. It was a lot of these
They didn't even offer like real tennis length games.
Yeah, it was very odd that like that was not included in like the core part of the game. And so like I think a lot of people were scared that like the golf wasn't going to be part of this, but it is. The maps are all pretty nuts, and like, you know, your experience with golfing on any given map can be varied, but I think overall the golfing feels pretty good. There is like an adventure mode, which I'm having, I think the most mixed feelings about, because on one hand, it's so charming and so cool. The summer vibes are just like off the fucking charts.
Is there a window open?
There are no windows open, but you do stay at like a golf dorm, essentially. Oh. Birdo is like the dorm mom, and she like takes care of all these people who are trying to like learn how to golf really well.
It's like a My Hero situation.
Kind of, yeah. It's you, like Abu, a Toadette, and one of the big like charging football players from Super Mario World. Yeah, absolutely. You have to make like a custom character in this one.
Oh,
and so I have made the entity known as Golf Ball, spelled GALHLFBAAL, Golf Ball. He is the sports ghoul.
You just RPG'd your Mario?
Golf? Yes, that is correct. He's an eyeless golf ghoul. I sort of like made his eyes be covered by his hair, which is just one quarter half circle around his head. It's like a dome.
Bowl cut.
It's a bowl cut, but it's painted all white because he himself is trying to make himself into the image of a golf ball.
Wow.
So he's got a real big nose. He has to go sniff out the green whenever he plays.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way he knows how to play golf. So anyway, I'm playing as the sports ghoul named Golf Ball. And it's real, like the adventure time, the adventure mode is like incredibly charming and like fun, and I think kind of gets at the appeal of like Golf Story and stuff like that, where like there's a little bit of, you know, stage setting and characterization and a little bit in there. So far, they are not telling a story per se. You're kind of just going from one course to the next and having a Toad, you know, next to you go, good job! And then that's the end of
Sounds like Toad.
that part of the game. Whereas like in Golf Story and even on the like Mario Golf RPG for the GBA, like there's a story there. There are people and like they have wants and needs and there's like an arc, you know? Whereas that is not really the case here. Sure. It's just sort of, you know, you're kind of just playing levels of Mario Golf chained together by some dialogue that is mostly just like, you did great, I'm Toad, bye. And so like that part of it ends up feeling a little bit shallow, which again feels kind of a minor complaint. Like it's fucking Mario Golf. Like I don't think it needs to be taken that seriously. But I think like in my mind, when I'm thinking of what I would want out of an adventure mode, it is a little bit of something going on there, you know, like just fucking make Wario the bad guy, you know, like anything.
He's too busy making micro games, Chase, please.
Very true. Good God, I want to play that new WarioWare.
I'm ready. When's it come out?
Later this year, I'm pretty sure.
This year?
September of this year. So yeah, you know, that's okay. There are a bunch of different kinds of golf. Normal golf, right? Just hit the ball, you immediately teleport to the next ball and you hit it and try and do good. That part's fun. That's a really fun part of this game. I played that with Emily Alice. She had a great time too.
Solid.
That part's great. There is also speed golf, where you hit the golf ball and you have to go sprint to it. And there's a bunch of different game types, but I think the one that I've played is the one where you have to get it into the hole first. That's the person who wins. Fun game type. There's another mode called cross-country golf that is really, really rough, and I do not enjoy playing this part of the golf video game. Yeah, so in concept, it seems really cool. There are like 9 holes on a course, and you essentially just need to get your ball into all of them. And you don't have to do it really in any order.
Okay.
So, like, you can just sort of plot your own course of, like, okay, I want to go over here. I want to get up onto this one. And, like, I have to go up this cliff. And so I have to hit it into this, like, tornado that's going to spin it up onto the cliff and shit like that. And, like, in concept, that is very fun. Maybe I've only just played, like, the bad level. But in my experience, it's been very frustrating and, like, not a particularly fun thing. Just because, like, a lot of weird edge cases around, like, okay, I hit the golf ball into the tornado and it didn't really go up the cliff. And it just landed right back where I was. And like now I gotta kind of shoot it out to get a better approach on it and shit like that. Like that's like, oh god,
you didn't hit it into the tornado right, Chase. Come on.
Yeah
you didn't do it right.
That part of it is sort of weird, but I think overall this is like pretty fun. I really like speed golf as a concept. They do a lot of things to make it kind of Mario Kart-y, where like there's a lot of blue shellification going on where like you know, there's, you know, you can sprint and sort of like knock people off each other and like fuck people up in fun ways. And like, you know, there's different like pickups on the field whenever you're running around to like get more sprint power and shit like that. So it's fun. I'm interested to kind of see how this goes the more I play it and sort of the closer I get to beating it. But yeah, I think it's fun so far. I also on Game Pass picked up the D&D Dark Alliance video game.
Oh, I heard this is not so good. I've heard, I saw a trailer for it and I was like excited, and then I heard the reviews and I was like, oh no. What is your opinion?
This is a weird video game. Is my opinion. Let's see how to be Podtimistic about this. It's weird. I get people's criticisms of it. It is wildly repetitive.
All right.
So there's that. It is pulling from a lot of places, and I don't know that it's pulling from those places super well. Particularly buggy in places.
Sure.
And just overall, like the level of polish on it isn't top tier video games.
Sure.
But I also like have had a hard time criticizing it that hard, given that it's a Game Pass game. I feel like you and I have talked about before about like, oh, I miss the old days where it's like you could put out kind of a shitty game and that was like a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, like C and B games, obviously, like that's our whole fucking shtick. And like Game Pass sort of opens that option up because games like D&D Dark Alliance don't have to sell super well to do good. Not to mention, I don't have to pay for D&D Dark Alliance.
Sure, yeah.
And so, like, I'm kind of appreciative of this weird, shitty video game.
Huh?
So, like, on a high level, this game is a little bit Destiny-ish in that you queue up and, like, you play through just, like, little instances, and, you know, you can do it on your own, but it's, like, much easier if you do it with, you know, 3 other people. You can just pop into matchmaking, and that, like, just sets you up with other folks. And in that way, it kind of feels a little gauntlet-y, right? Like you're just running around, like beating dudes up. It's a little bit of Destiny and WoW in the way that the weapon drops work. You know, there's tiers and you got to kind of grind for good gear and shit like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a little D&D just based on like the placement and the characters and the lore and shit like that.
Yeah.
And also a little Dark Soulsy because it's like there's a dodge and the way that you hit is with your bumpers and your triggers and like, you know, it's a little bit more tactile than just like pressing X to hit. I'm trying to think of like a better way to describe this, but like, I don't know. I like I said, I get the criticisms. It's not particularly well made and pretty rough around the edges. And I also think like if you're playing this game with the intention of I need to beat it, that would probably be pretty rough. But being that I'm on Game Pass and like don't have to play it a second longer than I want to, I was like, okay, great. Like, I got to play as fucking Drizzt Do'Urden, the fucking drow elf, and I hit some dudes and got some loot, and that was cool. Played it for like an hour or two, and I was like, all right.
That's all I need.
That's good for me.
That is definitely something that is missing in our video game world today, is renting mediocre games. You can't rent mediocre games anymore.
No, you really got to take a risk.
Either you pay full price or you wait a long ass time for it to come down in price to a point that is palatable to you.
Yeah.
So that's something that I definitely miss, and I think they could do something with it.
I mean, I think Game Pass is. They're putting these kinds of games out where like it's not a known quantity. It's not known that this game is going to do well, and like I think that's a good thing. I'm kind of glad that this kind of shitty game exists. Like it's proof that you can have these games and it's not going to tank Microsoft, you know, like it's not tanking Game Pass because this game is not so great. I bet worlds more people played this game than would have if it was just like a retail sold video game. Yeah, weird experience with this one. I bet it would be pretty fun if you had a group of friends who wanted to play this, turn their brains off and just kind of shoot the shit with each other. It feels very much like Gauntlet.
Yeah.
Not a particularly deep game. You're kind of just going around beating dudes up.
But just fun to kind of be in with the bros.
Yeah, a little bit, right? Like you can just kind of hang out with your friends and like that's a viable option for this. Not every game needs to be Destiny where it's like you got to keep up and read up on the meta and like all that sort of shit. So that was an experience. The final game that I've been playing this week, David, it is Chicory, A Colorful Tale.
I've heard about this game. I've heard good things.
David, this game fucking rules. I cannot believe that this game exists.
What is this game?
Okay, so let me see how to describe this. It's like a kind of top-down adventure-y game.
Okay.
You play as a character. You like name them in the beginning. They don't tell you that you're naming it, but it's like, hey, what's your favorite food? And then that's the name of your character.
Burgers?
Would you have named yourself Burgers?
Yeah.
I opted for Pizza, so now my character's name is Pizza, which I've read is kind of a common name. A bunch of people online were like, yeah, my character's also named Pizza.
I mean, that's probably the most common favorite food in the U.S., I would think.
I bet, yeah. So
safe answer, it's pizza.
It's funny. And so, like, the way that it works out is you play this person, I think it's like a dog. You play them, and, like, the setup of the game is that throughout the history of this, like, area, there have always been, what do they call them? Wielders. It's like a brush wielder. And it's, like, not directly explained, but it's essentially they kind of, like, keep the land safe. And the brush being this, like, you know, literal paintbrush that they use. There is, like, in the beginning, there's all these, like, characterizations of what the old wielders were like. There's, like, a bunch of, like, portraits of them on the wall. Sorry. Also, the dog that you're playing as is, like, the janitor in the tower that, like, the wielder lives in.
Sure.
So, yeah, the setup of the game is, like, very quickly, like, there's a history to who the wielders have been. Currently, the bunny named Chicory is the wielder now. And there's like some weird sort of like shakes that happen in the beginning, like the whole world is like kind of vibrating and shaking.
Whoa.
And then the color from all the colors in the world leave all of a sudden, and the game is suddenly in black and white.
So is this game indie Okami?
It's honestly, there is Okami in this game. There's definitely Okami in
Lots
here.
of color in the world. You have a paintbrush.
There is a little bit of combat, and it feels very Okami-ish. The combat is not super frequent though. It's like essentially if you stripped away the combat from most games and you just kept the boss battles, that's pretty much what happens here. The vast majority of it's sort of like exploration and puzzle solving.
Okay.
And so anyway, the setup is that Chicory has abdicated her position as the wielder, and you find her brush, and like just like initially it's sort of this like, oh shit, I have the brush, I'm gonna go try this out and see what happens. And then like some shit goes down and you're like, oh fuck, like I really had to like kind of step up for a second, I'm gonna go give it back. And then Chicory's like, I don't fucking want it, like I don't want this.
Damn, Chicory.
Yeah, it's fascinating and like deeply charming just on the face of it. Like the art style is incredible, it's like gorgeous just to look at. Like a lot of the style ends up looking almost like a coloring book. And you know, once you get the brush, you can sort of just start like dabbing and coloring shit in with the analog stick, or on the PlayStation you can do the like touch pad, and that's like a lot easier to draw with, which is like the best use of the fucking touchpad I've ever seen.
Cool. All right.
So yeah, I kind of was like hesitant to pick this game up because I was like, it just seems like kind of an indie game. Like not that I would ever short sell indie games, but like it seemed almost like it had been tread territory before. Like it looks kind of like Omori, that game I played, you know, earlier in the year, and it looks, you know, kind of Undertale-y and Earthbound-y and that sort of thing. And that's selling it short so fucking hard. This game is just wonderful, both in how fun it is. The writing is like clever and like genuinely pretty funny. But I think the best part of it is how it represents like the constant communication and like conversation that art is always having with itself, in the way that like it is tracking like all these old styles that the wielders used to have, or like how this like kind of wielder is, you know, it's a throwback or something like that. Or, you know, there's at some point you go to this like temple that's for wielders, and you can see like little conversations that have happened in like the dialogue that's on the like temple itself, and how like there isn't always agreement through like the wielders, and they're all very different stylistically, and like sometimes they just reject the ever-loving shit out of the person who came before them. Even like there are a bunch of wielders who are still alive before Chicory too, so like you can go and talk to a lot of these people. The one directly preceding her plays a pretty big role in it, and she's like deeply like pessimistic and like self-serious, and so like that dynamic is really wild. Not to mention, I think the other really, really big part of this is that there's a lot of parts in this game where it asks you to draw something, and like, you know, you're drawing on an analog stick and PlayStation 5 touchpad, right? Like you can probably imagine what's going to come out of that.
It's doo-doo,
but the game is so intelligent about cutting you off before you start talking shit on whatever you just did. There's this scene where you go to like an art studio where like there's somebody in there who like really doesn't believe in you, and you're like, she's like, what the fuck, like you're the new wielder, like you're just some person. And like the experience that you go through is this like class where they're like, hey, here's this old painting from one of the previous wielders, we want you to try and recreate it to the best of your ability. And like, you know, it comes out looking about what you'd expect if you're not a professional artist, you know. And they critique you, and it's like so nice. Like the teacher's like, oh, like I wouldn't have thought to do it like this, or and they'll usually pick something out that you did. Of like, oh, that like big splash of purple in the middle is really cool, like that says a lot. Somebody else will chime in and be like, yeah, I like, you know, my thing is totally different, I can't believe you saw it from that way, or, you know, the way that you see this is really cool. And like almost immediately the main character is like, oh, I don't know if I like it, and they're like, dude, like this is fucking cool, like you totally killed it. And like this motif of sort of being self-critical keeps coming up over and over again in people that are like clearly very good at what they do. Like at a certain point, I guess this is kind of spoilers, but still it's important. At some point you meet up with Chicory, and they're like, hey, I'll make you a drawing of you, but only on the condition that you draw me too. She asks you a couple of questions, and there's this like beautiful little vignette of like this, like some leaves falling and some nice music, and she's like, how are you feeling? And then, you know, you say, oh, I'm feeling whatever. I said worried. Because the previous boss battle was like kind of rough. And she's like, okay, what's your favorite color? You say something, and the background like kind of fades to that color, and there's just this really nice exchange between you and Chicory, and she's like, yeah, like, you know, this is like a hard job, and I kind of feel bad that I saddled you with this. And then, you know, she's like, okay, your turn. And like, you know, a big canvas comes up, and you know, there's a picture of her standing off to the side, so you can have something to go off of. And I drew her to the best of my ability, and she like shows you the portrait of your character, and it's like got your favorite color in there. it looks like it's probably representative of however you said you were feeling. And it's like clearly gorgeous. Like it just looks so good. And you hand her the portrait that you drew, and like I was like, oh man, this sucks. And like it looks so bad by comparison. And I think my character in the game was like, I don't know, this isn't really great. And Chicory's like, no way, like yours looks way better than mine. And starts listing off all the critiques she has of her own work. And she's so fucking effective at like getting you in the right headspace of like feeling the sort of self-critic that I think a lot of people struggle with. And especially when it comes to something in like the creative field in a way that like I haven't seen that done. I think that there's this sense in a lot of arts, and like if you ever saw Whiplash, like this is the thesis of that fucking movie, that like you have to suffer for art to be good. And like I just find that such a like destructive way to live. And definitely. Like self-destructive, right? Like if you think that the art that you're producing has to come at the cost of your own like sanity or well-being, like that's so hard and like also not factual. And I think the way that your character in the beginning acts, like just this sort of like happy exploration of like, holy shit, this is so much fun. I'm having a great time and I'm exploring, and like I never thought I would be able to get here, even though like, you know, sometimes I don't feel qualified for this. Really gets at like how there are other ways to make incredible art and make like stuff that is worth it in a way that's fueled by joy rather than just like this self-destructive shame and sadness that like you see in a lot of depictions of what makes good art. Mind-blowing, this fucking video game, David. It's a top-down 2D fucking game where you play as a painting dog, and it's like named Pizza. Like just so much of this game, I have like a shit-eating grin on my face because I'm like, this is so fucking cool. What they're saying is so good. The little like twists and turns that it takes are so incredible. And like, you know, I haven't gotten to the end of it yet. I'm sure I will. But like, this is like easily one of the best games this year for me. It's like not even a question.
All right.
So like, if any of this sounds interesting, I would absolutely go get it.
Gotta give it a shot.
It's just so unbelievable. Anyway. This will bring me to my Podtimistic thing, David.
An hour in.
1 hour in. I had some things to say about Chicory.
That may be the longest we've taken to get to the Podtimistic thing of the week.
I think it is, yeah. I think the issue is that it's getting slightly cooler and my brain is coming online and all the words suddenly came flooding back in.
There you go.
Anyway, my Podtimistic thing this week is this story that Jazz sent me about Nasir Gabelli. He was this dude who was programming on Final Fantasy III. And the essentially what happened was he was having some like visa issues in Japan. Essentially, they were like, hey, we have to like kick you out of Japan. Whoa. And he's like, well, fuck, I'm trying to finish Final Fantasy III. That kind of sucks. And so what did they do? He was forced to relocate to Sacramento, California.
Whoa.
And
shout out, baby.
The Final Fantasy team was like, listen, this dude's like such an important part of the team. It's actually going to be cheaper for us, rather than trying to fight the visa issue, to just fly the rest of the team out to Sacramento and have them build the rest of the game there.
Oh my God.
I know.
Final Fantasy 3?
Yeah, partially built in our hometown of Sacramento. I just found that such a like very odd and like half bummer, half kind of cool story.
Why Sacramento?
I'm unclear about why that was the place they landed. It may have just been like the capital of the state that's like probably easiest to fly to. You know, we got an international airport, so like you could feasibly get to Sac from Japan. I'm actually not sure if that's a direct flight, but you know, it's there. So maybe they thought it would be easier to communicate with the government or whatever, but still, they like rented a motel essentially and just built the rest of it there.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty fun story.
That's very cool.
Do you have something fueling your sense of optimism, David?
I do.
What is it?
It's this study that came out maybe like a month ago or so at this point.
Yes.
In the Journal of JMIR Publications, Advancing Digital Health and Open Science.
Cool.
That concluded that, and I quote from their abstract.
Yeah.
In light of the current research, we conclude that commercial video games show great promise as inexpensive, readily accessible, internationally available, effective, and stigma-free resources for the mitigation of some mental health issues in the absence of or in addition to traditional therapeutic treatments.
Let's go.
Specifically for depression and anxiety.
Hey, listen, I can speak personally to the effectiveness of video games for anxiety and depression.
I can as well. So, all the things that we've been feeling and saying on this podcast, starting with video games are good for you now. They always were good for you, apparently.
Yeah.
I just love that that's a scientific article.
A quantified quantity. It is a thing that is known.
Yeah, it's great to see my own personal experiences being backed up by cold hard facts, baby.
By science.
By science, baby. That's top facts.
Those are some real hot stats.
Those are some real hot facts.
Hot facts.
Hot facts.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, anecdotally, certainly have been effective for me personally. I don't think video games will cure anxiety or depression, but they certainly can help. I know that there's plenty of days where I'm feeling particularly anxious, and sitting down and playing a video game can sometimes sort of pull me out of that. Or if I'm in a depressive episode, that there are some games that are effective at not keeping me there.
Less depressy.
That's the abstract. Video games make you less depressy. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
Good for you, baby.
Yeah, they are actually good for you. Hey, do you want to move on to our main thing?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. Hey, good games.
Hey, Chase. Am I good games in this situation?
Yeah, we're gonna role play today.
Oh, hey Chase, it's me, Good Games. What's up?
Yeah, what's up? You're our most frequented segment. Hello.
I'm kind of the coolest.
I think that's true, technically, objectively.
People like me the most. I have interesting things to say.
Definitely the cutest boy in the room.
I'm the cutest anybody in the room.
Ooh, love that. The confidence.
I mean, it's just true. It's just the truth.
Jesus. Good Games is a segment where we talk about all the okayest games of yesteryear and then gush all the things that we love about them. This time, we're talking about a game that you suggested. You said this was your sister's video game?
I wasn't really allowed to play it.
It's so strange. I've never heard of anybody saying, no, don't play this. This
the
one's
injustice.
mine.
I've never forgotten the injustice of this moment in my life.
Actually, no. I was going to say there's maybe merit to that with this game because of a weird mechanic that it has, but even still, it's you could get around it. There's saves you can use. It's fine.
Yeah, it was just I had to share my PlayStation.
Sure, which fair. Okay.
Fair, that's fine. But the fact that I wasn't allowed to play this game on my own system
Weird flex.
Disturbed me, shook me to my core.
It's still affecting us, clearly.
It was a fun game, too, and I was denied.
We are, of course, if you hadn't figured it out yet, talking about Extreme G3 Racing. It's this, it's a racing video game.
It's a combat racing video game, Chase, please.
That is true. That is true.
Combat racing on motorcycles. Light cycles, essentially. Very
futuristic motorcycles, yeah. Can I hit you with a few hot stats about this video game, David?
Hit me with the stats, baby.
Cool.
That's all the explanation of the game we needed.
Usually we do the whole rigmarole of have you played this? I played this, blah, blah, blah. But we just get to the stats, man.
We're an hour in. Chase is ready to power through good games today.
The issue is I have a lot of things I would like to say about this game because it's actually, spoiler, fucking good.
It is good.
But yeah, we got to get through the stats first to really figure out. It's a table set just a little.
Okay, let's hear it. Let's do it.
Hot stats. So this game came out August 21st of 2001. PlayStation had been out for a year at this point, so kind of within that, year launch window-ish. Mm-hmm. I definitely remember it being one of the first games that was on rental shelves.
Yeah, it was an early PlayStation 2 game.
Yeah, for sure. It was made by Acclaim Entertainment. Of course.
Acclaim.
So it was developed specifically by the Acclaim Studios London, which were responsible for the Extreme G series. It says that the Alien Trilogy game that I think it was on PlayStation 1 it was responsible for those. But a game called Revolt, which was another racing game. But yeah, it's kind of a subsect of Acclaim, which was kind of a big studio at the time. They made a lot of video games.
They were big players.
A lot of games in I feel like it was the 90s and shit. I do have a review of this game from our friends over at Joe Video, the monarchs themselves.
The myth, the legend.
So yeah, I've taken the review that Joe Video had said of Extreme G3 Racing. I've run it through Google Translate through as many languages as I could find, spat about it out in English so that we can now enjoy it properly. Of Extreme G3 Racing, Joe had to say, finally, much to our surprise, XG3 is the PS2. Taking care of most languages are the few games you really hate. We want it to be more attractive to cars with a quick trap in the bank. Oh, war in general. In that game, Split could compete on either side of the screen. But what makes this game frustrating, or frustrating in name, is plans are different right now, and always will. 70 out of 100 for this one from Joe.
Did Dr. Seuss write that one? That was Seussian.
It's a little bit. The rhythm of it was definitely a little Seussian.
I don't know if that was just how it was written or that was the little extra that you put on top of it, but it felt very Seussy to me.
A couple of major lifts in the middle there to kind of really take you some places.
Yeah, no, that was good.
Thanks, Joe. So we should explain what this video game is. Would you be able to partake in that, David?
I would be. So it is a track racing game where you drive very fast, futuristic motorcycles.
Yes.
You also have the ability to get different power-ups throughout the game that come in the form of different weapons. So you have rocket launchers and machine guns. Those are the ones that I really remember. There's like a tractor beam one, wasn't there?
Yeah, there's all kinds of shit.
There's lots of pretty crazy weapons. That's pretty much the game in a nutshell, is that it's combat racing on motorcycles in the future on these giant loop-de-loop like Hot Wheels type tracks through these crazy vistas and locations like Tundra Planet and like Futuristic Planet. And
it's actually all Earth.
It's all Earth.
It's in this game. It takes place like some far-flung future where Earth is like ruined and nobody lives there anymore except for these racers.
These racers? All right. Okay. I'm okay with a post-apocalyptic racing Earth.
It's kind of cool. Like the setup, I was like, I don't hate that at all.
No, that's tight. But yeah, that's the gist of the game.
That's true. I think like just to add to it, there's like a bunch of upgrades that you can make to your actual motorcycle, which I think are pretty cool. Like you were saying, there's guns, but you can also like upgrade your engines and your shields and your boost and shit like that.
Yeah, and you get more boost or shields or ammo through different like strips that you drive through, right?
Yeah, it's like very F-Zero in that way. Like there's little sides of the map that if you drive over, it refills your ammo or boost and shields. I thought this was actually really cool that the boost and shields actually come from the same pool of stuff. Like if you boost, you're also draining your own shields, thereby making yourself like kind of vulnerable.
Strategic.
Yeah, it like ends up, I guess we're almost into gushing here, but it ends up making it this like very cool like risk reward decision that you constantly have to be making of like, if I boost right now, I might be able to get ahead of this person like safely because they're going to start shooting at me the moment I pass them. But will I have enough to safely like get far enough ahead of them that they won't be able to hit me very easily? Yeah. Also, what weapons do they have? I have no idea. Are they in a bad situation, or should I wait until later in the map where I might be able to like boost onto that strip to get more shields and like make a safer approach or whatever. So like just that little tidbit of the game, I was like, that's such a cool twist to put boost and shield in the same pool.
And that is good.
It like just immediately makes the racing so much more interesting rather than just like go fast. Yeah, I sort of mentioned this already. I played this game a pretty fair amount today, and it fucking rips. This game is so good. The reviews I saw were like kind of middle of the road, and again, I understand what they were complaining about. The game's really fucking hard. It is particularly vicious.
Super hard. You go so fast.
Not only that, if you fail and like don't qualify or for a race, that's like a game over.
Yeah.
If you do the like tournament version of the game, if you don't win, you completely lose. It's not just like, oh yeah, like you can do it again. It's like, no, you kind of died and you have to do this again.
This ain't a baby game.
No, I was like kind of shocked by that. I was like, oh, well, I guess I'll just go do this again. Let me use the money that I won in that last one. They're like, no, you didn't win money because you died maybe. So I was like, oh my God, this is like a little brutal.
This is Race World, baby.
So I get the criticisms, but the fucking game is good. I was having a really good time playing it like today.
Yeah, the sense of speed definitely still translates, it seems.
For sure. I don't know if the game was running at 60 frames a second, like on the PlayStation 2, but it certainly was in my real PlayStation 2.
Yeah, you had a really good monitor that could upscale it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My magic monitor.
Your magic monitor.
But it looked really good. Like it's low poly, obviously, right? Like the graphics aren't incredible, but like it feels really good and feels really tight to like race around really quickly. So yeah, I was thoroughly impressed. But yeah, you're right. The sense of speed is just crazy. Like you are flying through these tracks.
Yeah, especially when you come off like a loop-de-loop and you're just going straight down. You pick up so much speed. It really feels visceral. Very visceral amounts of speed.
It's phenomenal. Like there's these turns that you can go around. Like a lot of the time you are bumping into the edges of the map.
Oh, constantly.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to like pilot these little things, but I kind of like that. It really adds to the sense of like you are nearly out of control.
Yeah, I'm barely steering this monstrosity of a vehicle.
This rocket that I'm attached to. And like, there's a little bit of punishment for hitting the walls, but it's not like overwhelming. But there's like, if you can kind of get into a rhythm with it, if you hit either of the triggers, it'll brake on one side of the bike rather than just hitting one brake to slow you down completely. It'll brake to one side and you'll really start to turn. And so like you can hit these lines where you're like just absolutely flying through the level and only doing these like breakneck turns where you're just flying around the corners in a way that just, again, it feels so good. And like the little speedometer on the right side of the screen is showing like 700, 800. I don't know what any of that means, but it feels like I'm going 700.
A lot of hundreds. It's a lot of hundreds.
What stands out when you're thinking about this game? We already mentioned speed a little bit.
The sound design was really good.
Yeah,
when
definitely.
You're going along really fast and you can hear like the little pylons zooming past you, like the little thing. Yeah, that was really good. The lighting was like surprisingly good too. Also gave you a good sense of speed, like in the levels where it was kind of dark outside and it was just like street lamps and you just like zoom past the lights. I think everything really comes back to the sense of just breakneck speed that the game is able to really nicely convey. I remember the loop-de-loops were really fun.
Yeah.
They really made you feel like at the top of the loop, it almost felt like you were going to fall down, like straight down, because there was just that significant enough amount of decrease in speed at the top.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, am I going to stay on? And then all of a sudden you just pick up so much speed and you just start zooming down and then all the music and the sound effects stop and you just hear like wind rushing and you just feel like liquid lightning. So good. So good.
It's got those like Mario Kart 8 ass level designs where like you're flying around just these like upside down areas.
Yeah, you're upside down doing like corkscrews on the road, just like crazy shit. So that was great. And I also remember the guns were fun. It was fun to just like shoot and blow up these other motorcycles. It was satisfying. It wasn't easy, but when you landed a hit, it felt significant. And it always felt good to just take someone out and just take their spot.
What's nuts about this, and I didn't remember this, if you blow someone up, they're out of the race.
Like
they don't respawn.
Yeah.
I was like,
there's 9 people in this race now, not 10. They're dead.
I was playing through it and like I was just trying to see like how much is it going to take for me to like really knock somebody out with these guns. And it does take a lot. Like you really got to hammer people with like your little guns, and like it's not easy, which I think is a good thing. It like forces you, like if you really want to do this, you kind of have to commit and like really try and punish someone. But yeah, I was looking and it's like there was 12 out of 12 racers. I was in like 8th or something like that. And I was shooting this dude. He blew up. And then it was like, okay, you're 7 out of 11 now. I'm like, oh my God, I killed him. What the fuck? I didn't know that was going to happen.
What have I done?
But you don't see that in racers very often.
No.
In so many racers, it's like if you get blown up, you just, the fucking the Koopa Troopa comes and picks you up with his little fishing rod, puts you back at the bottom of the map or whatever.
They should make it a rare item in a Mario Kart. You get a shell that just like takes someone out of the race permanently.
Luigi gets a gun.
It's only for Luigi.
It's his ultimate ability.
Kill.
So yeah, I thought like that was both genuinely surprising, kind of a delight to be like, oh wow, they're really committing to this. Like you can just knock people out completely.
Permadeath is on in this racing game.
Yeah. So I thought that was like kind of novel and interesting. So something I noticed when playing it was that the boost and weapons don't unlock until like it's either a minute into the match or like halfway through your first lap, essentially, which I love. I like it is such a cool idea for like a combat racer to not have you be able to shoot immediately or boost immediately, because you get a good sense for how to like just kind of drive normally, and also you're kind of around a bunch of other people in the beginning, and it would just be like pandemonium if like everybody was boosting and shooting in the beginning.
Just death.
Yeah, so I'm glad that they did that, but I love how when you're kind of like getting, about a minute into it, there's this like tension that starts to show up of like, oh god, when's the fucking shoe gonna drop, and like, me be able to boost, and like people are gonna start shooting pretty soon. Like it's this weird sort of like nail biting situation that starts showing up, and like I just love that. Like it again adds to this like tension that you start to feel where you're just flying through the map, and then also like, hey, we've unlocked your guns, go. And whereas if it was in the beginning of the map, I think it would be pandemonium in a bad way. But in this one, it is pandemonium in a good way. It is tense and fun, and when like the training wheels come off, it's just like very fun all of a sudden. It would be as if you're racing in Mario Kart and everybody a minute in gets a green shell. Just like for a second, it's like, oh shit, like things are about to go down. I thought it was just like such a cool twist on just normal fucking racers that I was like, oh, that's like so novel and great.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I love the tension that it builds up. You can start planning out how you're going to position yourself before you cross the line, and the guns go free.
Yeah, I think like it's hard to make a racing game that is also a combat racing game that's interesting at all. I think of a lot of it usually boils down to like just be shooting and also race at the same time.
Yeah.
But I think with a limited amount of resources that this game gives you, it turns it a lot more into like this strategic thing that you kind of always have to be balancing, especially because like, if you blow all your boost at the beginning of the map right after you run over the strip that like refills your energy, you're kind of fucked for the rest of the lap, and like you don't know what's gonna show up at the end or whatever. And so I love that. I just think that they made a lot of cool risks in how they set up this like race that like really turned out well, I feel like, in ways that are still pretty novel and still pretty fun.
Yeah, they haven't made a game like Extreme G3 in a long time.
Nothing this significant. Yeah, like you get a little bit of the like viscerality and the speed and like burnout and shit like that, or even normal racing games like any of the Forza Horizons, you're hauling ass for sure. But I think this like added little spice of sci-fi and feeling like you're in fucking Tron when you're flying through these levels is like really fun. And then also this like meta game that starts to show up whenever you add the weapons and the boost and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think it would be a very fun online game nowadays.
Definitely, for sure. Especially because the upgrades were pretty varied. Like we talked about this a little bit before, but like essentially the way that the like campaign quote unquote works is that you do these like tournament matches, and with the winnings that you get from that, you can go and upgrade your bike. And some of them, like we were saying, are pretty significant. And so like if you could easily imagine if this were a modern game that you could have all sorts of different like variations in how these like setups work, like whether or not you want to prioritize boost or weapons or whatever. And if you can make them all viable, like that's such a fun idea. I think of course Mario Kart does this well, right? Like with the trade-offs of like the heavier characters, they're able to like, they have a higher top speed, but their acceleration might kind of stink.
Yeah.
But I think with something like this, there's a lot more room to experiment with like what happens if your character is overall pretty slow, but if they're anywhere near anybody else, they're like deadly. Like that's so much fun, and like something that I think that they did a really great job experimenting with here. We would be hard pressed not to mention the music.
It's another one of these techno fever dreams.
Yeah, it feels very like trance music where it's like kind of just the same beat for about 5 minutes. I'll play some here to sort of give you a little sampling, and you'll know exactly the vibe once you hear like even a couple seconds of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very just like monotonous head thumping sort of like early 2000s race music. It's pretty
early
good.
2000s.
Yeah. It's not quite the like speed garage stuff that we had talked about with like Buck Bumble or anything like that. It's a little bit more like trancey. I don't know that sentence has ever been uttered before.
It's not like Buck Bumble. It's more trancy. Huh?
But it's like it's good music. I like enjoyed how it really matched the tone really well. And like I feel like the message that they're sending with the music is like you need to be focused and attentive, but in a way that's like not explosive like Call of Duty or something like that.
Yeah.
Like you need like Twitch set like responses for Call of Duty, but in this one you kind of just need to be like really focused on what's happening in that moment. And like rather than responding once when you see a bad guy, it's like I need to be focused the whole time and just like constantly on and thinking. I think the music does a great job of like reinforcing that.
Just like this is just there's one thing kind of going on, one thing to think about. We're not going to throw in all sorts of different bridges or anything like that.
No,
it's just the beat.
Yeah,
just go.
Focus on the speed, baby, because it's gonna get fast.
Focus on the speed, baby.
Yeah, like I think if you were gonna make an F-Zero game that like obviously this one is inheriting a lot from F-Zero, but I think there's a lot F-Zero could inherit here as well.
Yeah.
That like rather than just being a boosty level, you can make a lot of offensive changes that do make it really fun.
I think it has more in common to a Wipeout though.
Yes, definitely. That was something I was looking at, that like Wipeout was a very common ancestor of this game. And in fact, a lot of the people who worked at Cynosis, I think is how you say it. There's a bunch of employees that worked at that studio which produced Wipeout that went on to work here, which I think it's not a mistake that they were probably either poached or scouted or something and said like, hey, come make this game. It feels kind of similar to like how Titanfall ended up feeling a little bit like Call of Duty after Respawn was the people who made Call of Duty and then Infinity Ward got kind of spun into Respawn and then they made this game. So
Titanfall 2 was good.
Very good video game. Very good video game. Talk about concise. That game like did not overstay its welcome and just like gave you like the best parts of the video game.
Yeah. 6 tracks. That's it.
Pretty much. Yeah. No bloat to that album.
All killer, no filler, as they say. Did you just spill all your Topo Chico down your face?
I don't know why that joke got me.
It's the heat, baby.
Yeah, I'm not complaining about it, honestly. I'm a Topo boy. Spilled some Topo on my chest. So yeah, what else was on your mind when you were thinking about how good this game was?
I mean, very not related to the game itself, but it was the forbidden fruit. Yeah,
it's the game you couldn't have.
I wanted to play it so bad because my daddy said, no, this is your sister's game. And I said, but I want it, Dad.
It seems cool, Dad.
It seems so cool.
Which is, in hindsight, true. This game is cool.
This game was great. I think my sister had another game. I think she also had Xena.
Warrior Princess.
They had a Xena game on the PlayStation 2.
They did.
That one wasn't as fun.
No.
But you could pilot around her like little disc thing. That was fun. That part was great.
I remember that
very chop
vividly.
people's heads off. It was good.
Yeah. Overall, yeah, I think like what the game set out to do was communicate this like intense speed, and like I think at every turn of the game it does that.
It does, yeah. Even
the stuff that isn't specifically tied to speed, like the the weapons or the music or the level design, they all leverage that shit effectively to make the speed feel that much more intense.
Yeah,
you need to use the speed to get ahead of people, to kind of take yourself out of their like dangerous area right in front of them. You need to be able to like escape or approach with like by going very quickly, and the level really doesn't let up as far as like turns or anything, so you got to be managing that. And so rather than just being like a straightforward like racing game, it just adds all this other shit that I think really complements this like early 2000s speed.
So fast.
It's so fast. It's such a vibe. It feels like it's not at all the same thing, but it feels very Kingdom Hearts in the ways that it is trying to communicate a vibe.
Our vibe is speed.
Yeah. It doesn't have to say anything. The story doesn't have to make sense, but yeah.
The story's cool though.
Yeah, pretty wild sci-fi stuff going on there.
I like it.
The other thing I wanted to mention is that in the beginning you get to choose your racer, and I don't remember what the dude's name was, but I did want to mention that he was Armenian, just for Garen's sake. Yeah.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
This is what representation looks like. A full 20 years ago.
A full 20 pixels in this video game, and the phrase, he's Armenian, in the video game. Anyway, yeah, I really liked this game. I was surprised by it in how enjoyable it was and how fun it is today. I know that like I said before, I get the criticisms. I get why this wouldn't be a 10 out of 10 game, but I really loved how effective they were at doing what they were trying to do.
Yeah, they made you feel like you were going super, super fucking fast.
In more ways than one.
In more ways than one. They did a great job at it. Well done.
Go Extreme G3 Racing.
Extreme G3. Hey everybody.
Hello.
We're on Twitter.
We are.
At Podtimism. Tweet us.
You can do that if you want to.
Yeah, do it. If you so desire, tweet at us. It would be great. You can email us at vgpodtimism@gmail.com.
Yes.
You can also, if you really want, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Really helps the pod.
Yeah, it does.
It helps us out. You could also even tell a friend about us if you
all
want.
All your gamer buds.
All your gamer buds. If they like chill talks about going super fucking fast in a game, hit us up.
You can either do this or This American Life, either one.
Ira Glass goes fast.
This week, we talk about a futuristic racer called Extreme G3 Racing.
How much Ira Glass have you listened to be able to do a good Ira Glass impersonation is my question.
Sarah Koenig went to the future to find out what this blasted Earth looks like and feels like. Sarah?
Do you have a Sarah Koenig?
No, I don't.
No. Huh? That was good.
Thank you.
Good Ira Glass. What a guy. And lastly, thank you.
Hey, thank you so much.
We just want to say thank you.
Thank you for making our day.
We really liked having you here with us.
You really have made our day?
So thank you.
Gracias.
Merci beaucoup.
Because we really liked having you here with us.
Because we like you.
I'm going to twist it. We love you.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
What's up, all you Mission Avenue Sacramento heads? You got the shit out of that joke. David,
everybody else is so confused. This is a podcast for like 3 people at this point.
David, I don't know that there are people from Mission Avenue that listen to this podcast. That
I would
literally
be very
may have
surprised.
That may have been just for you and me.
Maybe James.
Maybe
James. That was for you and me, baby. This is now everybody. Now everybody listening to this podcast is part of Mission Avenue. That's really all you need.
Yeah, true. We brought you into the family.
I don't got friends. I got family. Fast 9 out in theaters.
What the fuck? Oh, God. Yes, thank you for listening to this podcast. We appreciate you being here and spending your ear minutes with us weekly.
Yeah.
We love that you would do that. That is a very cool thing, and we like making this for you and for us. We both enjoy it.
Sure
both
do.
parties. So thank you. Gracias. Merci beaucoup.
Chase, do you have any gaming wisdom?
When it's 110, maybe don't play fucking video games, because that PlayStation's going to light your room on fire.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. Or put that PlayStation on ice, baby.
Yeah, true. You know what? Maybe the gaming wisdom is take your PlayStation, put that thing underwater. I bet it's going to run really good in there. Nice and cool.
I was thinking maybe like an ice pack on top. Underwater?
It's colder under there. If you can get it really deep underwater, too, it's real cold deep.
No, this is what you got to do. You got to do a mod on your PlayStation so you can insert a water cooling system.
That seems like a lot of work. How about you hurl your PlayStation 5 into the ocean? That seems like a good way to cool it off. And while you're there, you can go for a swim in the ocean.
I wonder if you
know
could
how to swim.
I wonder if you could get that replaced under warranty and how quickly that would happen with the PlayStation 5 shortage. Do they have some in stock just ready for like warranty replacements?
Oh, hey, no, we got another ocean thrower. You can just toss that on the pile with the rest of them. It's the best way to cool it down. They heard it on a very cool podcast with 2 very hot boys. Physically, I'm very warm.
Same. This closet has gotten hot. It's hot claws.
Well, with that, I think this hot claws pod will now be a normal room temp claws.
You ain't
pod.
gonna pause this hot claws pod. Unpausable in this claws.
The unpausable hot clawsable. New video game pod pausable.
Sounds like a musical. The unpausable hot clawsable. Video game pod.
You know, I don't know what Lin-Manuel was thinking after he followed up In the Heights with Hot Clausable. It just didn't really go quite as good.
Hirawa,